Nobody beats Talking Joe, an international podcast.
Brand new.
Hey, we're talking brand new Joe. Hey, we're on a brand new show. Deep dives, blow by blow. Spotting Uzis and crossbows. Like a buzzball or a pogo. Got ninjas like Don Shadow. Comics are how I spend my dough. We're coming to you in stereo. It's time for Talking Joe. With Mark and Tim, here we go.
Brand new.
Talking Joe is on the air.
Hey, it's me, Mark, and welcome to Talking Joe, the G.I. Joe Comics podcast. It's the only show that has the audacity to play a jingle that says brand new at the start of every show for a comic that is 17 issues in. We are coming to you again from the far reaches of the Energon Universe because we are talking about G.I. Joe issue number 17, which is the Dreadnok War part 5 of 5. It is the finale. It was released this week, just gone Wednesday, 14th of January 2026, the distant future. The synopsis read, Dreadnok War continues. G.I. Joe versus Cobra versus Dreadnoks. Will the shocking end to the Duke and Cobra Commander team-up result in death? And a last page twist that will change the G.I. Joe forever in the Energon Universe. Now, did the comic deliver the potential that synopsis promised? We will find out over the course of the coming minutes. And joining me, as always, to discuss it, it's a real American Tim. It's Tim Finn.
Hello, Mark, and listeners and viewers.
Hello, Tim. And we will not be doing this alone. Today we are joined by a special guest. It is Carl of Carl's Collection.
Hello.
Greetings, Carl.
Carl, you have a fancy microphone and headphones, so you must have been doing this for a while.
Dude, a couple of years now. Yeah, I'm an original art collector. And I love when people share things that they enjoy. And I thought, you know what? I can do that. So that's what I did. And it's been a lot of fun, just kind of sharing, connecting with people that like the same type of things. So yeah, been loving it.
Very cool. And we are live at the time of recording, which actually technically we are always live at the time of recording, but we are live streaming to YouTube. And joining us live, Paul. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. The Canadian survivalist, Infinite Entertainment. Hello, Jones. I'm not quite myself today, but I'm not sure why. Okay. And it looks like we've lost Carl temporarily.
I was just about to ask Carl, where are you broadcasting from? And can you point to a couple of things behind you and tell us what they are?
In the and here's G Unit. It's Greg Augustin. I've got my copy of Command Files Volume 2, recently released and very kindly sent in the post by the After Action Report team. That is sitting upstairs for some light bedtime reading. Now it was a big week for G.I. Joe because not only did we have the release of G.I. Joe issue number 17, we also had a new comic book day release of come on, StreamYard, do your work. G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, issue number 324. It's Joe's in Space. And we will be covering that, but we can't cover it simultaneously at the same time as doing issue number 17. So we will be doing that this time next week.
I'll just say that Skybound has done a good job of keeping its comics on schedule, but G.I. Joe 17 was originally going to come out a week earlier. And based on the ordering for the next issue of these two series, I think they may be coming out on the same week a month from now. So that is a wonderful embarrassment of riches. But there are so many G.I. Joe comics. Let's spread them a bit out through the month. If not for readers like everyone who can have some delayed gratification, but also poor podcasters like us who really don't want to double up on a weekend day.
Absolutely. Tim, shall we talk about your new announcement up front in the show as well?
Sure.
The latest thing you're getting involved in. Why not tell us about Animation Mavericks?
Animation Mavericks, The Forgotten Story of UPA, is a feature-length documentary that I am executive producing. I've been secretly working on this for 3 years, or 10, depending on how you count, but mostly 3. Mostly 3. This is completely unrelated to... And Carl's back.
How about
Carl.
that? Technical difficulties.
Animation Mavericks is completely unrelated to G.I. Joe podcasts, my G.I. Joe history book, The Center Holds, my comic with Larry Hama and Mark Bright coming out from Boom Studios. This is much more in the wheelhouse of me being an animator and a teacher, and also a filmmaker. And this 2 days ago, at time of recording, I was in Los Angeles along with the director, Kevin Schreck, who directed a really amazing documentary 10, 15 years ago about Richard Williams, who was the animation director on Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And that was called Persistence of Vision. And he is who I picked to make this documentary about UPA. UPA, United Productions of America, was an innovative studio in Los Angeles that made animated shorts in the 1940s and 50s at the same time that MGM, Tom and Jerry, Warner Brothers, Looney Tunes, Disney, Silly Symphonies, and Donald Duck and Mickey Mouse, Walter Lantz, Woody Woodpecker, that studios were making cartoon shorts for theatrical release. And it is interesting and sad that kind of no one knows or remembers UPA. And so we're going to tell that story. Joining us for this feature-length documentary, which is to say an hour and a half or 2 hours, is Rachel Gitlovich, who is an American living in France, and she's our animation director. This is a live-action documentary based on interviews with experts. But we're going to have 25 minutes of original animation in the documentary because we have so little archival footage that where one of our interviewees is telling a story or we have someone reading from a diary, we are going to present visuals that we are animating to recreate those scenes. So 2 days ago, the three of us were in Los Angeles and El Segundo specifically, which is near LAX, the airports, at an amazing movie theater called Old Town Music Hall, where we, along with Jerry Beck, animation historian, and an amazing panel of animation luminaries, had a screening of UPA shorts from the late 40s and 50s. And then Kevin Schreck and I got up on stage and announced the existence of our documentary, which we have been working on in secret for 3 years. And then our announcement made Variety, which is very exciting. So if you go to that, cool. Go to that second slide, there's my name and my quote. Both Kevin and I, as film historians and animation aficionados, are grateful to have the Buzusto family's blessing and cooperation in creating Animation Mavericks, said Finn. There's never been a major feature-length documentary telling the story of this important chapter in cinema, and it's a privilege to be the first to do so. So Stephen Buzusto was the president of UPA. His son, T. Buzusto, 20 years ago and more, was making a documentary on the studio. He did not finish that documentary and he died. And I picked up the baton and with his daughter, Sylvie Bosrau, who is now the sort of third generation in this family, have been moving the documentary forward. Sylvie was there on Thursday, and I met her kid. So we had a third and a fourth generation of this family legacy in the theater, along with other friends and family. And it was awesome.
Very cool. So let's get to some of the comments coming in. Yorktown Joe, I have this G.I. Joe issue but did not read it yet, so I might catch you on the replay after I have read it. You're relatively safe up until the end of the gallery, at which point we get into the plot breakdown and properly into the spoilers. But yes, certainly we will be in the detail of the spoilers, so if you haven't yet read this issue, more than welcome to wait until the replay. Checkpoint Alpha is in the chat, and Yorktown Joe also confirms that he was able to get the center holds ordered from his local comic book store. Hurrah and huzzah. So let's do the thing we do with our new guests, which is to sort of check in. And Carl, maybe you can tell us a little bit about the room you're in, the space you're in, and your attachment to G.I. Joe.
Yeah, so this is the collection of Carl's collection. This is my kind of the area that I have in the house that's just kind of for me, and it's a place to kind of house all of the all the collectible stuff that I've amassed over the years. So the kids are welcome to be in here. So it's not like I'm not like don't touch anything. It's just it's nice to be able to have a retreat once in a while to go to. So.
Can you
Fortress of Solitude?
Carl, can you tell us geographically where you are?
Yes, I am just outside Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Okay. I'm in Boston, so we share a time zone, and Mark is in England. And Carl, can you point to 2 or 3 things over your shoulder and tell us what they are? They don't have to be expensive or valuable necessarily.
Yeah. So I don't have a lot of, actually, surprisingly, as far as art goes, I don't have a lot of art in this room yet. I'm still part of an art collector is, do I spend money on framing or do I spend money to buy more art? And it's a problem that I need to rectify. But the reality is it goes more towards the art. But anyway, so I do have some posters in here. I'm a big fan of Francisco Francavilla. And he did a series of Mondo posters. So I have Halloween, which is one of my favorite horror movies, and then the Planet of the Apes franchise, which is a huge. I love that series as well. So those are some of the things I have on the wall. One of the things I love back here is the spinner rack of all the comics.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just comics that make me happy to look at, and that's what I have back here in the room.
Yeah, I desperately want a spinner rack of my own. Hey kids, comics. Francisco Segala, bringing it back to G.I. Joe, did the art for the G.I. Joe classified Duke. That would have been, 2020? One of the very first classified figures.
Francisco Francavilla.
Francavilla,
yeah. Yes. I said the wrong Francisco just then, didn't I? But the right reference.
But still a G.I. Joe one. Carl, am I seeing the cover to Uncanny X-Men 300 behind you as a poster? And
you are
got the hologram stuff?
It is. It's so the movie posters were from Mondo. And they also did a series of comic book variant cover poster prints. And that was a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive the one year. And so Uncanny X-Men 300, I'm a big, the early to mid 90s is when I was, that impressionable 11, 12, 13, when I was reading comics and was really turned on to comics. And Uncanny 300 was one of the ones that I kind of, gravitated towards and attached to. So when they did a print of that, I was like, okay, well, I need that one. So yes, and it does have the holographic foil on it as well. So
in terms of spending money on more art or framing, I used to feel that pressure. Having art loose in an Itoya folder, in those individual sort of Mylar sleeves that are kind of stiff but totally clear, or a flat file. Folks, there's nothing wrong with that because you can hold it in your hand, right? Where if it's in a frame on a wall, it's 2 steps removed now. And flipping through an Itoya folder, whether it's some covers or some pages or some sketches or some combination, is very much like if you visit an art dealer at a convention or an artist selling their art at a signing. Sort of that's like that experience because it's sort of the closest to the moment when you bought it because someone brings a folder of 30 pages and you have the money to buy one. So Carl, you have my thumbs up for not framing a lot of art and just keeping it in piles or in a cool folder.
Or you can.
That really is part of the joy, because it's the tactile feel of, you can take the pages out, hold them, you see the pen strokes, the brush strokes, as far as like filling in the blacks in the ink, and it's just and any bit of correction you see on there, you get the feel of the physical feel of the art is part of the experience that you lose if you have it framed. So I try to have eventually have a balance of some things framed and then keep some things, that I could look at and enjoy up close. So,
Well, you can have the best of both worlds and frame it and then just leave it on the floor,
Yeah.
So why not?
I've got a cover over my left shoulder here that's framed and sitting on the floor.
which we are all so behind this absolute Death of Superman. There's some commissions that I have from some of the Death of Superman artists that are in those frames that are right back there. Also art on the floor. So we are of like mind. Putting our art on the floor.
Folks, if you're listening, we don't mean lying flat on the floor. We mean on the floor, leaning against a wall. So
Yeah, we're not savages. Yeah,
Framed with the frame sitting on the floor. Yeah.
Very
Near
good.
the wall where it could go, but it has not gone.
right.
Right. So before we get into things proper, I'll just do another bit of show and tell. This will be a few seconds. I got in the post just before Christmas my Operation Recall figures from Carson and crew, and this week got around to actually opening them, and they are very pretty and very nice and tactile.
I've also received my wave 1 of Operation Recall figures, and I have a backlog of opening that kind of thing in the mail, so I don't have them handy to hold up to camera, but thumbs up, Carson and the Operation Recall team and contributors.
Cool. So what bit should we get to first? Let's
just real quick.
Okay.
You asked about the my history with Joe.
Yes.
So it was the cartoon, the toys that turned me on in the 80s, probably around, I'd say like 86, 87 era, and then was buying, and I didn't read much of the comic until I had a subscription in the mid to late 90s. So a lot of the Ninja Force, that kind of era, I forget what specific issues, because I'm not great on pinpointing the exact issues, but it was in, I think, like the 120s, 130s ish, somewhere in there. And but yeah, so I have a fondness for some of the eras that though some others do not have a fondness for, because of being my age at the time. And so like Ninja Force stuff, and I remember really liking please no one don't attack me, but some of the eco warrior stuff, the gaudy neon of the 90s. I have an attachment to that era.
Those Andrew Wildman and I was thinking Randy Emberlin pages in issues like 124 and 125 and 120. I own the cover. I own Wildman's cover where Eco Warriors Flint is hanging upside down over a vat of toxic waste. So
I love Eco Warriors Flint.
Absolutely.
I love that cover. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've always sort of imagined a scene where in modern G.I. Joe comics where they don't have to be in the newest costume, Larry Hama G.I. Joe comics, I've always sort of imagined a scene where like the Joes are in the locker room or in their quarters, and like Stalker is taking off a white jacket and like putting on a green camo sweater, or like behind Flint hanging on a hanger is like a yellow jumpsuit, to just nod to the fact that they had these other costumes and these other specialties. And I don't really need them to have another adventure necessarily. Although if they did, I think it could be pulled off well, but certainly fewer clamoring for, Stalker to go to the tundra with a kayak.
Yeah.
Cool.
Could happen. You never know.
Let's get into what's been happening in the world of the Energon Universe this last couple of weeks, shall we?
All around the skybound world, are you looking for some G.I. Joe? There's Autobots and Decepticons and creatures from the sacred brain. All we need is Energon, sweet Energon. There'll be Energon everywhere. There'll be robots swinging, aliens
killing and Decepticons in the streets. Yeah. There we go. So it's been a big couple of weeks for the Energon Universe. Out just this week gone. It's been a big week for comics. Was the release of Transformers issue number 28, which, as well as all of the sort of usual Transformers shenanigans, you know, Megatron up to no good,
Mark,
all of that kind of.
You want to update the image on screen?
What have I got at the moment? 20
not,
Transformers?
Not Transformers.
Huh. Okay. All right.
There we go.
There it is.
Okay. That was weird then. So, yes, Transformers issue number 28, also out in the shops just this week. Gone. And there's the covers for it. So Megatron up to shenanigans. We got RC doing some interesting Transformers-y stuff, but significantly for us, that Miles Mayhem story has been continuing. So if you've not looked at Transformers, avert your eyes for a couple of minutes here as we talk about Transformers issue number 28. So last time, Miles Mayhem was uncovered by General Flag, and that story continues as he is marched out of the Shadow Watch base, but he surprises everyone by triggering this magical helmet, let's call it, calling in this crazy helicopter and making an quite slightly astounding
transformation.
Mm-hmm. And we get a big conclusion, bringing the Transformers and G.I. Joe mask stories together, as Flag says at the end of this sequence. I can't read it from here, but someone find Matt Tracker. I've got a sneaking suspicion we backed the wrong horse. So we've kind of established this Miles Mayhem Matt Tracker kind of rivalry falling out, and as Matt Tracker has been sort of established in the G.I. Joe world in the Energon Universe special, that plot is coming together, and we also know that or I've had strong hints that we might see more of Matt Tracker in G.I. Joe issue number 19. So exciting to see these parallel plot threads sort of coming together a little bit.
Maybe the two of you can remind me, was it or maybe we'll know in the cover gallery, is there a Matt Tracker cover where the background's all red and he's getting into the Camaro? Is that in this month's G.I. Joe or Transformers, or is that next month?
This is 19. That cover is going to be.
I think it's G.I. Joe 19.
Okay, thank you.
So 2 issues time.
Okay.
So that was very cool. Then we have also got the Energon Universe Void Rivals. So issue 25 was the last one out, which came out around about Christmas. Issue number 26, which will be part of, which will be the Quintesson War Part 2, will be out on January the 28th. We've not yet seen Pythona sort of enter the fray in the Quintesson War, but it will only be a matter of time. There's more grand celestial happenings, I would say. So the Quintessons have kind of descended upon the Void Rivals' home planet, kicking off the war, and I guess with those striking visuals from Andre Bressan, looking quite different to what we've seen so far in the pages of Void Rivals, I'll say.
Yeah, I think there's a typo here on this promotional image that shows the covers for Void Rivals 26, because the bottom still credits Connor Hughes as the interior artist.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Carl, I wanted to ask, are you doing this properly? Are you reading G.I. Joe and Transformers and Void Rivals?
Doing it all. Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
All
and Carl, for listeners and viewers who are only reading G.I. Joe but have a couple extra bucks every month, how would you suggest that they spend those couple extra bucks if they're only reading G.I. Joe? Of all the things that they could buy, food, shoes, umbrellas, what if someone had an extra $8 a month and they're only buying G.I. Joe in the Energon Universe? What might you suggest they do with it?
I would suggest reading Transformers month to month, but I would also recommend diving into the Void Rivals trade paperbacks. Because I do think that Void Rivals reads a lot better in chunks, whereas Transformers on a month-to-month basis kind of gives you a little more to talk about, more to experience. And I feel like there's some bigger moments that are happening in each issue of Transformers. It slowed down a little bit with the initial changeover with Robert Kirkman, but I think now that's ramping up now that he's kind of got all the chess pieces where he wants them. Yeah, I would say pick up Transformers and then experience Void Rivals, because it's a lot. I mean, Void Rivals is the new big mythology, so I think it's easier to digest and keep track of in reading the trade paperbacks.
Fascinating.
Deluxe editions that are out. I mean, there's the first volume's out, which you can get all the first 12 issues of the Void Rivals in a nice deluxe hardcover, which is a beautiful book, and you can get that relatively cheap online as well. So, or in stores, yeah. So
folks, don't buy comics online. Go to brick and mortar stores. Drive typically 10 miles, whatever is 20 miles, 100 miles.
Generally my rule is, if it's $50 or less, I try to buy it in store. But when you do like some ridiculous, large, unnecessary editions of books that are hundreds of dollars, then I kind of maybe look for a dealer online that might get a little bit of a break of a deal. But yeah, buy local.
And you like Void Rivals and Transformers?
I do, yeah, very much. I Void Rivals. I only say that the way to read that because I struggle sometimes month to month. As far as if you ask me, what's going on in Void Rivals right now? Yeah, it's not as easy for me to just jump on and say this is what's happening. I can maybe get some of the storylines, but there's a lot going on with multiple different plot threads. So, yeah.
I think this might be the comparison. So we're all sort of, the three of us are soaking in G.I. Joe and Transformers mythology and history, shows, movies, comics, toys, and people who are new to Transformers or new to G.I. Joe might find it intimidating because there's so many characters. And I think we sometimes skip the part where there are too many characters and it's intimidating. We say, no, it's just awesome. Just read it. And Void Rivals is sort of now our chance to experience something new that's big and expansive. But we don't have any benefit of 30 or 40 years of history. And there are no toys and there's no cartoon. And there have now only been 25 issues of Void Rivals. And I agree with you. I have read them all and I've read them all twice. And I still don't know all the characters' names. And I'm still... some of the factions look similar to the other factions, like the 6 pilots or the 5 pilots who were in the last 2 or 3 issues. Yeah. It's like, they all have very, very slightly different visors on their helmets. Which is the main guy? And what I'm saying is, I need to read it even more carefully and 3 times a month. I need to read each issue 3 times.
But it is a very rewarding so far, because I read them all month to month. Actually, that's not true. I jumped on Void Rivals later because I was initially doing Transformers and then the Duke and Cobra Commander when the miniseries came out, and then I waited, and I think it was I want to say I picked up the first trade for Void Rivals when that came out and read it in chunks like that, because it just I wasn't aware, like when things were first happening, that it was tied to the Energon Universe.
Very good, but yeah, I think I'm of the same opinion around thoughts on Void Rivals and for Transformers. The thing for me of reading it monthly is those little sort of unexpected bits, particularly around sort of the mask and that kind of thing of just having 1 or 2 pages, sort of giving that sort of explosive bit of excitement. Yeah. And I having that as on a month to month sort of makes that sort of quite exciting. Whereas if you were to sort of read that more condensed in a trade, I think that element of just having a single page per month, or it would be a different dynamic where it would be less exciting and keeping you going to the next month.
Yeah, agree. Yeah, I like how random kind of Joe characters might pop in, and it's not overwhelming. It's not too much. So if you're strictly a Transformers fan, having this character pop in doesn't interfere with the story. It doesn't necessarily, you don't need to identify like, oh, that's a G.I. Joe character. That's a character from, so I think they're doing it intelligently. I really enjoy how they're just kind of peppering in things that make sense when it makes sense to have a crossover type character in the series. So I love those little surprises reading month to month.
Our listeners and viewers may want us just to get into the issue finally, darn it. But this is a good segue to a sort of larger thing that when we talked about this new issue, I did want to talk about. So I'm just going to talk about it now, which is, and we have talked about this before, but I sort of caught a word in my head, which is wonder. And it's surprise and wonder. And here we are on issue 17 of G.I. Joe. And if you count the 4 miniseries, right, we're now 2 years in. And if you compare the feeling of G.I. Joe in the Energon Universe to, say, 2 years into the Devil's Due run, right? 2003, issue 23, 24, 25, a Devil's Due, or the Marvel run, right? In 1983, issues 23, 24, 25. It's a completely different feeling, and it's not a perfectly fair comparison because the times are different, the markets are different, the marketplaces are different. But when every time I read an issue of G.I. Joe and Transformers, and to a lesser extent Void Rivals, every couple of pages I have this feeling of delight and wonder when something exciting happens for the first time, or in the Energon Universe, it's happening for the first time. A character appearance, someone changes costume or allegiance, someone does something out of character, and it's going to pay off, later, or the sort of like famous Kirkman final page, or Kirkman style, I should say, because Walking Dead sort of like, haunts in a good way all of this, because Kirkman's the head guy there, but the sort of final page reveal or surprise. And I love issues 23, 24, 25 of the Marvel G.I. Joe, but I don't know, I wasn't reading it at the time, I came in later, but I don't know if I was a kid, it would still be my favorite comic 2 years in if I'd started at issue 1. But I don't know that I would have the same feeling of newness and wonder. And this universe, this take, I'm holding up issue 17, still feels really new. And that is a testament to the care and the pacing and all the high talent. We talked a lot about art and color and even lettering. And this is sort of everything that happens. Like in this, almost everything that happens, we've seen a version of before. Like we've seen G.I. Joe and Transformers meet. We've seen Transformers sort of unveil themselves in a surprise way. And yet, because we've seen Mask in the world of G.I. Joe, we've seen G.I. Joe sort of trying to hide with Transformers. And yet, something about it keeps clicking month after month. And I'm reminded of Mark and I very recently had an interview with Joshua Williamson and Tom Reilly. And Joshua Williamson is one of the 2 main architects of the DC All-In saga with writer Scott Snyder. And a big part of that is the Absolute line. And also a big the other half of it is the reinvigoration of the main DC line. And Jesse, the manager at my comic book store, and I were talking a week ago, and he said, I think the era of the comic book that comes out and is $4 or $5 and not much happens because the writer is like writing for the trade, I think that's sort of over again now. And when people come in right now, the economy is not great, where people feel that way. Comics are like, they're not $2, $3, they're $4 and $5. And if someone's going to come into a comic book store, that issue has to really deliver a big or satisfying chunk of story. And he pointed to the Absolute books as a good example of that. And he also pointed to the new Matt Fraction Batman, where every issue is a self-contained story, but it's telling an overall story. And I think in the back of my mind, I was thinking, yeah, in the Energon Universe. And we see this keep paying off because there are new readers and people keep writing in. And I'm not trying to pick on Marvel right now because I'm a Marvel guy. And I'm not trying to pick on X-Men right now, but I do think right now a lot of Marvel and a lot of X-Men as a contrast is not there. It doesn't feel like each issue is super exciting and important, and like definitely worth your $4 or $5 or $6. So I wanted to use this word sort of wonder, because again, like, 2 years into Devil's Due, I'd already given it a second shot and left again. And 2 years into the Energon Universe, I can't believe it's still this good.
Yeah, I think that, Joshua Williams said something very similar to that, about you've got to make every single issue count. And it really feels like that every single issue, it really counts with G.I. Joe at the moment. The each issue, looks amazing. There's things going on in this story that, a couple of beats in each issue that will sort of just make you gasp. It will end on a cliffhanger of some description that wants you to read the next issue immediately, and sort of keeps it in your mind and sort of anticipating the next release. And we're talking about issue 17 here, but already, in this discussion, we've, I think, been talking about the issues ahead. Sort of 18, we're going to see Roadblock. 19, which one's 19?
Duke meeting the Transformers.
That's right. Yeah, Duke. Duke is sort of meeting Hound in 19. It's got that great sort of headbutting cover. Then we know that Optimus Prime is coming, and then beyond that, we've not seen issue 21 yet. But that's probably because of the weight of that issue. That's going to be that number. That's probably going to be amazing as well. So we're looking. You don't normally do this with comics, of just looking ahead, the next 4 issues or so, as well as the current one, going, these are all going to be amazing. These are so, these are going to be so essential. So it feels very, that there's a lot of weight to each issue, and that you almost can't wait for the trade for this one. And by reading the trade, you've almost got too much of a concentrated burst of a good thing. That having that 2 weekly or monthly kind of wait, I think is helps you appreciate the quality of each one of those issues as it does come out. So speaking of new issues,
and something happening in May, right? Is that one of your slides, Mark? Yes.
We have had the announcement of the Free Comic Book Day 2026 special for the Energon Universe, which will be out on the 2nd of May 2026. It will contain 4 stories. A G.I. Joe story, a Transformer story, a Void Rival story, and another story. So maybe this will be... Maybe this will be the Mask with their own story, potentially, or maybe it will be something else completely that surprises and delights us.
Sorry. Good. I just want to say, when I was watching the interview with Joshua and Tom, I was like, is what's on Tom's board? Is that part of the and more for this issue? I was like, what is he working on? It's because as soon as Joshua said, hey, Tom can't mention what he's talking about yet, I was like, ooh. No, tell me more.
So Free Comic Book Day, I was around going to comic book stores when the first Free Comic Book Day happened, and I loved the idea. And I have tried to go to a couple different before I owned my own store, and was very busy on that day. Over the years, I've tried to go to other stores to see how they do it. And it is a very important day for me because it's so exciting. And, every year, DC's definitely going to do something, Batman or Superman or Wonder Woman or event related for, their Free Comic Book Day comic. Marvel's definitely going to do something for whichever character or team is getting a movie that year or that week or that day before, like Fantastic Four or Avengers. And, nowadays Marvel does like 4 different Free Comic Book Day comics, the kids one, the Star Wars one, the main one, the other main one, the ultimate one. And even though, of course, like Spider-Man shows up in sort of every Free Comic Book Day year, I just want to point out how exciting it is that now 3 years in a row, Skybound has or will have had a major Free Comic Book Day entry. And, a lot of the Marvel and DC ones, they're like really forgettable prologues to the event that's about to start. and they're oftentimes not drawn by the artist who's doing that main event, so they feel really unimportant. And sometimes they're kind of important, but they feel like just an extra scene, sort of between scenes. And these Energon Universe issues for Free Comic Book Day are absolutely essential. And I love this commitment. That first year I thought, oh, well, yeah, Skybound, Image, one of their offerings will be for the Energon Universe. And then it happened again for 25. And a year ago I thought, they're not going to do it again for 26. Are they? Because over the years, when IDW had these licenses, I think there were 3 years where they did a G.I. Joe and or Transformers Free Comic Book Day comic. And those 3 years I thought, yes, my favorite thing is getting special treatment. And then the next year it would be something else that IDW was pushing, like My Little Pony or the creator-owned horror stuff. And that's totally cool. But I love this commitment. Skybound keeps putting into the Energon Universe, and the Energon Universe, or the whole Hasbro license, keeps giving back to Skybound.
And it kind of funnels back into the quote, Mark, that you mentioned, as far as what Joshua said in your interview, as far as making each issue count, making it matter, making you get you that hook that delivers a great story beat moments. The same thing applies to the Free Comic Book Day. It's like a can't miss thing. So it rewards those that are reading month to month, and that's what's next. Like, it just gets us all that much more excited. Which is, as a mid 40s comic reader, I thought those days honestly were behind me, where I would be fine just picking up trades, reading things that I've heard are good, that because there's a lot out there. But now this in part has gotten me back to buying comics, and it's like and that gets me buying other series, other number ones from Image, to see what else is out there. So it's just great for the industry when things like this happen, when you have guys my age saying, I need the next issue of this comic book. So I love what they're doing. And it speaks to all different fans. There's new fans, casual fans of G.I. Joe, diehard fans of G.I. Joe. And that's not an easy thing to do either, as far as it makes something that is rewarding for all the different types of fans that you want to reach. And yeah, I've said it multiple times. I just think they're doing this in such an intelligent way that I love it.
Let's move on to looking at who brought us the issue that we're looking at today, issue number 17 of G.I. Joe, brought to us by the creative team of writer Joshua Williamson, artist Tom Reilly, colorist Jordie Bellaire, letterer Russ Wooton, editor Ben Abernethy, publication design Andres Juarez, and production Ashby Florence. So let's have a look at those things that they stick on the front of these books to help us, see what they are. That's a novel way of describing them.
Let's have a look at the covers in the gallery.
Cover A is drawn and colored by Tom Reilly. This continues a visual trend we've been seeing for this story arc. Each of the covers have focused on Duke and Cobra Commander in the desert with a blue sky. And this cover is a tad unusual because it's a wraparound. So this is recalling some other important issues of G.I. Joe, like Tom Reilly's cover for issue 1. But it is unusual in a different way. If you go to your comic book store and you just see the comic book like I'm holding on the rack, and you don't see the back cover, the other half of the wraparound, this is the rare G.I. Joe cover that only has Cobra characters on it. Now, if you're thinking, Tim, there are lots of covers with sexy Baroness just standing there, you would be correct. And what I'm referring to in
I had noticed.
I think we should make a push for like Quick Kick. Like we should have like Quick Kick, just
sexy
10,
Quick Kick.
10 variant. I mean, he's shirtless. It's like Han. It's kind of Bruce Lee. We should get a bunch of retailers to do exclusives by a variety of artists. Where was I? So taking out the cool character just standing there cover that sort of happened around the year 2000 in comics, and I'm gonna blame that on Marvel's Ultimate line in 2000 when Bill Jemas said all the covers need to have just one character, like Spider-Man. And then one of the editors said, well, what about a book like X-Men or Uncanny X-Men? And he said, all the covers need to have one character. They need to really pop. And that was sort of awesome. So Duke is here, but this is a really Cobra-centric cover. We have the Dreadnoks fighting Duke and fighting Cobra Commander. Each Dreadnok gets to be doing something different in how they're posed, what weapon they're using, and this is a strength of Tom Reilly's. Of course, they all look really distinct in their faces and their body types, but each one is doing something different here. And then on top of that, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 dead or unconscious sort of invented background Dreadnoks strewn about this rocky formation. This is a gorgeous cover, and is the most fun part of it that Duke is punching Road Pig in the face, but also Road Pig's dog is about to attack Duke. This cover is in no way referencing A Real American Hero number 200, but I like to reference A Real American Hero 200, and that is a prime example of Duke and Cobra Commander fighting in the desert in that other universe. What a gorgeous cover, and there's a really nice compositional element that Reilly's doing, which keeps your eye in it. We're actually looking in sort of a giant oval, because on the top left and the top right, there's this rounded rock formation. On the bottom right, the rocks curve in again. And then on the far left and the bottom left, Road Pig and his weapon, and the way that his arm is curved up. We're sort of looking into an oval portal on this composition. So your eye stays within.
And Ripper is massive again, and he's holding a rock above his head. I threw a rock at him. It was a really big rock. Spot the reference. Should we move on to the
cover
next
B.
one? There we go.
Cover B is drawn by Lee Bermeo. This is this is a gorgeous and intense portrait of Destro. He's turned 3/4 toward us. His fist is up. His head is a bit bowed, but he's looking at us. Reflected in his head and sort of cheek is CoverGirl running or walking toward him, holding a pistol. Behind him is Flame. The sense of surface planes on Destro's mask. There are artists who draw Destro and he's definitely wearing a mask. And there are artists who draw Destro with a face that can do anything, and then it's maybe inked and definitely colored as if it's metal. And this is absolutely in the former category. Destro here, although this mask can move somehow, this is a mask. This is not a perfect human face that's like microscopically coated in silver. And this cover acts as a little bit of a bookend to Lee Bermeo's variant cover for issue 1, which similarly had a fiery background and was a different camera angle. But in sort of the story description was the same, in that it was a Joe heading towards a Cobra in attack. And that was Cobra Commander coming at us, and reflected straight on in his mask, his silver faceplate, was Duke. Which makes me wonder if at issue 34, there's going to be a Lee Bermeo cover of, I don't know, a Televiper, and in their visor, like Roadblock's fist.
Or maybe they'll rehash Hound with Duke with his head flying towards the reflective surface of Hound.
Hound's metallic face. Yeah.
Yeah, Cover Girl does get a little bit lost behind the logo. I think it's a lot more obvious once the logo's taken out. This was a cover that I'm not generally a variant cover collector, but I did get this one.
In defense of Lee Bermeo's composition, if the G.I. Joe logo was where it normally is and not bumped down lower because of Dreadnok War Part 5 of 5, we would see her. Very cool cover. Also, just in the same way that, one more thing, can you go back? In the same way that Lee Bermeo really got the textures of cloth and sort of shiny metal and plastic on Cobra Commander, he really gets both the metallic quality of Destro's faceplate, his gauntlet, and then that is actually leather, right? His jacket is leather, but then the inside where the red is starts to look like velvet. And man, it's one thing to draw well, and it's another thing to be able to differentiate all these very specific textures. Like Libremeo is a painter.
That guy can draw.
Cover C, this is a regular. This is not the 1 in 10 variant. Remember, they aren't doing this right now. This is Ben Oliver. It's another one of these, what I was calling lineup, like police lineups, but maybe it's just sort of a yearbook portrait of Road Pig. There's a out of focus blue and blackish color wall behind him. Road Pig has a very thick neck and a very thick head, and he's sort of smiling and scowling at the same time. He's missing a tooth, and as I said on the previous Ben Oliver covers, he draws very distinct faces for these. So these aren't just like stock character faces or types. These are individual people. And that's really fun. And he's doing a similar thing over on the pages of Void Rivals. Mark has put on screen all 5 so far. And everyone loves the Dreadnoks because they're such great characters, right? They've got fun costumes and they're sloppy and mean and funny and dangerous. And that's all here, right? All these characters have 3 out of 5 of these have definitely been in fights.
Missing teeth and stuff. And we're talking about distinct faces. You can't help but think of Brock Lesnar, the wrestler, as being the influence for Road Pig's face in this particular cover. I'm not going to post this one again and get called out by by Ben Oliver saying no, it's all wrong. It's definitely not that guy. But I think this one, people have been looking and thinking, yeah, there must be a little bit of that in the Roadblock face on this one.
Mark wouldn't put money on this, but he would put a case of Yojo Cola on it.
Yeah, a whole case. Right.
And then
next up.
Cover D is drawn by Jesus Marino and colored by Adriano Lucas. This is Road Pig. It's got that explosion background that makes us think of the first couple years of Hector Garrido's package art for the 80s toys. He's got his left arm forward. He's got his cinder block on a stick over his right shoulder, and he's sort of stepping. Both of his legs are bent, which is I think a way to keep him sort of in the, one of the challenges of a comic book cover is that in its ratio, in its height to width dimensions, if you focus on a single person full body, you might have too much negative space on their left and right side. But then if you zoom in on them, you might be cropping them awkwardly, like at their knees. And so the history of comic book covers is filled with wonderful and terrible examples of compositional and posing solutions to this sort of challenge. And, as we just saw with those Ben Oliver covers, it works really well for head and shoulders portraits. But, we're going to have this logo that's pushing really low. And so Marino, in order to sort of emphasize the sort of heaviness, the stockiness of Road Pig, bends both of his knees here. So he's a little bit lower in the frame.
Similarly, this rounds out a set of 5 Dreadnoks, all by the same artist, Jesus Marino.
And these are the 1 in 25 ratio variants. And then there's a 1 in 50, which is drawn and colored by Pi Par. This is the camera's low; it's just a couple inches off the ground. Hound is zooming away from us. This is a really fun and unusual approach. Hound is zooming away from us. Clutch is in the back, using the sort of gun pod in the back of Hound as Jeep mode. The background is all this green, and you don't often see covers with this green. It's a yellow green, even though there's a little bit of a gradient. And then in the positive space of this laser blast out of Hound's vehicle mode laser cannon mount is a drawing of Hound smiling and sort of pumping his fist as if to say, I'm having a great time joyriding with you, new human friend Clutch. But what's really fun about this cover is the color approach where it sort of makes a rainbow. Like the top is red and then orange and then yellow and then green and then blue. And the way that Pi-Par has stylized the tires, right? The vehicle is driving so fast and is sort of off the ground, but all 4 tires are sort of hanging off their axles and at slightly different angles to really accentuate the sort of bouncing, like dune buggy quality of this. This is a slightly strange and very wonderful cover. And now that I've talked for so long about all these covers, Mark, maybe you want to say one thing about this, but I wanted to pass the mic to Carl and ask him which is his favorite.
As a Tom Reilly guy, I guess that's the boring answer, but it's the cover A. I mean, I always I will always prefer a cover that is drawn by the interior artist. These are, I think this one though, I think is the most interesting as far as outside of the, if we're going the next level outside of like for the variants. I love this one because it's just the Jeep alt mode feels like it matches the joy and exuberance of the profile picture of Hound. So it's just, you feel the excitement of Hound in this moment. So I really like that, the way that was done.
I've put on the screen the layout that Pi-Par produced and shared on Instagram for this particular image. So fun to see the work in progress. He also posted some early pencils on Instagram of just the Jeep, sort of saying this is what I'm currently working on. And in the comments, some people saying that is definitely Hound. You are drawing Hound for a future G.I. Joe cover. And Ben Abernethy replied in the comments, So we've got one retailer variant this month, which is Tyler Kirkham for 616 Comic. It is what they're calling the War-Torn variant. So one is regular and one is foil, and it features Destro with Duke reflected in the mask, and it's sort of divided into 2 halves. One is kind of a regular Destro, and the other is a war-torn, battered, bullet-dented sort of mask with fire in the background. And this is a companion piece to the War-Torn variant that he had previously produced for, which featured Cobra Commander with, ironically enough, a shattered mask in that particular image. So let's move on to the inside of the front cover. We have we're an hour in already, and we're so this is where spoilers abound, folks. So if you haven't yet read this issue, then feel free to pause and come back after you have read it. So let's find out what happened in a plot breakdown. When last we finished out, the image on the screen is the final page from issue number 17. It was Cobra Commander in a cave, being confronted by Dreadnoks, but I think Cobra Commander definitely had the upper hand, partly because that upper hand was made out of chainsaw. So, what happens next?
Plot breakdown.
In a cave in the Chihuahuan Desert, Cobra Commander has chainsawed a bunch of Dreadnoks and is now in a standoff, but he offers a proposition to hire the Dreadnoks as independent contractors with their first job, kill G.I. Joe. Meanwhile, Duke leads the Joes back to the Dreadnoks to rescue Cobra Commander. As they face off, Clutch reveals their hidden ace as Hound transforms into robot mode, surprising everyone and turning the tide of the battle. Destro arrives on the scene in transport helicopters, sending in the Valkyries to rescue the commander. He is able to escape along with the lead Dreadnoks. And elsewhere, again, pause if you've not read the issue. Spoilers coming. Hawk arrives back at the pit, and as he receives a call from his baby sister, he removes a layer of prosthetic makeup to reveal underneath It is Zartan. Dun, dun, dun.
Carl, although this issue is kind of different than the rest of this story, Mark and I have talked a lot about this story so far. So let's start with you. How has the story been for you, and what are your broad responses to this new issue?
This is the strongest arc that we've seen yet in this series, and I really loved issues 1 through 6. I loved there was that initial the grand meeting between Duke and Cobra Commander was a moment we were all waiting for, and that was super rewarding. I loved that arc. I like the character stuff in the second arc with which you kind of flesh out the cast, which I think is really smart. You need to do that. You need to take that moment to pause and kind of have some smaller moments with the characters, but then you go back to like a bombastic type story here. And this seems to be the comic arc that you could give to somebody who is not sure about G.I. Joe and doesn't necessarily want to read all of the setup stuff, which is you should, and it's rewarding, but this does enough to, especially when they started with issue 13 with the kind of recap, it got you up to date, up to speed. So this is going to be an easy one once this trade also is out to hand to somebody and say, hey, you want to know what G.I. Joe this series is all about? Go check this out. And yeah, I've loved this story so far, and this issue specifically, I thought it was a great way to cap this story, but also blow the doors wide open as to what is next. And that is impressive, and that's what you want from a month-to-month comic, and they're doing it wonderfully. So yeah, I love this issue. If you want to talk a little bit about that Zartan reveal, I was completely convinced that it was General Flag. That Flag was Zartan, because his characterization in Transformers has been a little uneven. And I thought, oh, well, that's because it's him trying to find Flag's personality. And so I was convinced. So kudos to Skybound for, dropping those potential hints along the way that there's something kind of going on with Flag, because I was not thinking this at all. And I thought that was a great reveal. So yeah, loved this story, loved the arc, and very rewarding.
Should we go in with the end of the book first, maybe, because I think that's probably the sort of the mouth dropping open, the real what the moment. And we, funnily enough, actually, Skybound have sort of spoiled this on their social media, that they did drop the final page as a post. I felt it was maybe a little bit early, given that it's only been out a few days. I think
exactly
maybe
what I was going to say. Yeah, because you could have even picked this up on Wednesday and had it, not read it yet, and just and especially in the way that on Instagram it's not as bad because you have to scroll to see the spoilers, that you just get the cover and then you can easily avoid that. But if you're on Facebook, the way that it lays out a multi-image post, you get the cover on the left, and there's two big spoilers right there, so you can't avoid it. If you're scrolling, you're going to see it. So I think that was, honestly, I think that was way too soon. I wish they would wait on stuff like that.
I agree, and I am always shaking my fist when publishers do this. At the same time, I think they know that some random person, or not this podcast, but some, internet person is going to spoil it the day of. And if they can do it, then they can really frame it the way they want. So I don't like it, and I wish they wouldn't. It's sort of the lesser of two evils. I was really surprised, and Mark and I have sort of seriously and jokingly talked in the last year about, is any character that we know so far, is it really Zartan? And I think this even came up each time we've interviewed a Skybound person on the show, like, well, Zartan. I will say, and I love this issue, it's very exciting, and it's only 20 pages, but every sort of 2 or 3 pages it shifts. I will say, Mark, you want to jump in? I
was gonna say that we sort of first found out that Zartan was in sort of in the universe and in disguise on a mission somewhere in Cobra Commander. It might have been Cobra Commander issue 3. And since then we've been speculating, and top of the list from, I think, us reading that issue was Hawk.
Okay.
And then second choice being Flag, as Carl says, that sort of shifting characterization did seem a little bit shifty. So yeah, it was fun that sort of that initial gut feel kind of did pay off with this final reveal. Are you moving on to something else, or are we still talking about?
No, this scene. So
okay.
I thought this scene was great. I do have a quibble with it, which is the first panel on the second to last page, on page 19, where Hawk is holding a rectangle, and it's a mirror, but I thought it was an iPad or like a Joe communicator, and it's him seeing his own reflection, and you're supposed to notice the cut in the eye, which then leads into the next panel where he's starting to peel his face off, which is awesome and upsetting. The way that I read it the first time was, "You won't believe where I am right now, bro," was not the like, "You won't believe where I am right now, bro," like communication coming over some like audio device speaker in the room. I thought that was pointing to the person on the what I thought was an iPad, not a mirror. And I understand it's like, well, no, Tim, if it was an iPad, it'd have like a frame and a little bit of tech on it, like 2 buttons and a star. And yes, it definitely does look more like a mirror than an iPad. But I read this scene sort of wrong. And when I got to the panel on the bottom, that's all red and pink with Serana, I thought, wait, what's going on? And then I turned the page and I was like, oh my God, it's Zartan. Wait, who's he talking to? And I actually had to read this scene a second time. And I don't know if that's because I was reading carelessly or this scene was well staged, but not perfectly staged.
Interesting. The thing that my quibble with this last scene is slightly different, which is just that I think the damage the Hawk has here with the gunshot, and then on the next page, it looks like he's got a damage to his eye. That didn't seem especially telegraphed in the previous issue. There didn't seem to be any signs of him being wounded, and him picking up some sort of injury to his eye was not particularly clear either. But that's a relatively minor quibble. This sequence with him, the mirror, his eye, and then sort of the body horror element of that did put a very specific reference in mind, which was the Terminator. After Terminator, Arnold Schwarzenegger got some damage and then sort of does some impromptu kind of surgery to his face with those beautiful 80s sort of techniques and prosthetics.
This is a good call, good catch. I do think that is purposeful. Here's a reference which only sort of coalesced in my brain after I read it, which is the third panel on page 19. We are looking past these blinds that I've been in love with since, what was it, like page 2 of Duke #1, where Tom Reilly draws Hawk and Duke in Hawk's office with all of these black lines and all these shadows cast through these window blinds, these Venetian blinds, these mini blinds, whatever they are. And for the first time, the camera is on the other side of them and we're looking past them. But Tom Reilly is composing it so that one of the blinds is blocking this face as Zartan is starting to tear off the mask. And it's just a really small tease. And I'm going to guess it's not in the script. I'm going to guess that this is a thoughtful art composition edition, but cool. Maybe it's in the script. Kudos to both of them. It adds almost nothing to the story, but it adds a lot to the feeling, the rhythm, the visual play of sort of what you know and what you think you know, the sort of visual, this is a big word, I'm sorry, poetry of the page and the storytelling. And it is another example of on what high a level Tom Reilly is operating, because this panel would be kind of just as fine if you didn't have those blinds there and we were just looking down. And it's like, oh, it's starting to take his face off. Oh, who is it? I don't know. It's Zartan. But he's holding it back just another moment. And, like we see this, like there are moments in Batman shows, movies, and comics where he's coming toward us, he's walking, he's swinging, and his face is in shadow. And even though we know it's Batman, and maybe you see his yellow symbol on his chest and maybe you don't, it's exciting when the light finally breaks and you do see his face, right? All the Indiana Jones movies start with this, where you see Indy from behind and then there's a reveal. And we all know it's Indiana Jones because we saw the trailers and we know we've come to see an Indiana Jones movie, but still.
Or perhaps when in Batman Animated, when it's Bruce Wayne and he's partly in shadow and the shadow is sort of creating a cowl on his face. And to that point, it makes me want to go back and reread all of the previous Hawk appearances to kind of see what foreshadowing there has been, because I think they have played with shadow on his face to kind of suggest hints of that Zartan eye makeup, and including with all of these Venetian blinds producing these wonderful shadows, and the blinds now making a lot of sense. They need to keep those blinds shut because if the direct sunlight hit his face, it would turn blue.
There was a couple issues ago when he was talking to Clutch, ready to go off to meet up in Washington, or wherever it was. There's a shot where he's looking over his shoulder, and I remember reading it thinking like, he looks very villainous here, like what? But it didn't click with me, and like, oh, maybe there is something there. I just thought like, oh, he just looks kind of mean here. I don't know why this is, Yeah,
he's an authority figure in the military, and he's got people under his command who need to follow orders. Maybe he's just kind of a grump. No, he's a bad guy.
And that page, if I remember correctly, was colored in green. So I don't know if that was hinting to the eyes of Zartan or so.
He's an evil master of disguise. Yeah.
Zartan.
Okay.
I was trying on the hoof, try and find that page.
I think it was issue
14, I think. Yeah.
14.
Yeah, there we go.
16, he's on the ship. So
should we talk about the final page before we leave the Zartan reveal?
Let's talk about that first page as well. Did you hear the pick up the reference there, or where he's getting the call in? Secure call Z channel, passcode Greystoke.
Oh, that's Tarzan's real name. Right? Lord Greystoke. And Tarzan is an anagram of Zartan. Where's Zartan? I don't know any Zartan.
Yeah.
That's a good catch. So, I did not catch that.
Right. Let's talk about that final page.
He's got some scars on his chest. I was for a moment I thought, oh, I wish the scars were sort of in the shape of his like chest piece shirt thing, or I wish the shadows. And I thought, no, that's dumb. He's got the makeup or the tattoos. That's enough. He's still wearing his green military uniform. The final three word balloons are the example of what Carl was saying about how this arc this issue both ends this exciting arc that you could hand to someone and also propels the book forward into new stuff. Because Zartan promises chaos, and he says the real war is just getting started. And I hand the mic back to the two of you.
Well, I thought as well the character spotlight at the end of the book was interesting because they have this Hawk character spotlight, or let's get to it. Where are we there? And it says the shocking reveal at the end of the Dreadnok War that Zartan is impersonating Colonel Hawk begs the sinister questions. Just how long has Zartan been leading G.I. Joe, and what is his end game?
You're referring to the Energon experience page after the comics, after the letters page.
Yeah, and indeed he talks about he talks about how long he's been doing this in the dialogue. A few pages earlier, he says, "Since those robots awoke on Earth and I took on this role, I have played this game perfectly." So it's sort of suggesting that maybe he took on the role shortly after the robots woke up in the pages of Transformers issue 1, which was just before Duke encountered Starscream. So the suggestion seems to be that Hawk has always been Zartan. So where is the real Hawk? What has he been doing? Has all of this G.I. Joe interaction with Duke, setup of Night Force, all been Hawk?
Yeah, there's a lot of questions, and we will have to wait for the answers.
And I had to remind myself this after reading the issue, just because we now know that Zartan is in the comic. His cover has not been blown, right? He's taking his costume and makeup off just for our benefit. He's going to put it back on and continue to be Hawk. So it's not just like, oh, I'm Zartan, I'm in the comic, I'm another enemy. Hey, Zorana, chaos is coming. It's, no, I can still manipulate and no one knows. And there isn't even a countdown. Like, oh, one of the Joes almost saw me, they're on to me. It's like, they still don't know. Only the reader, only Tim knows, holding this very comic book, peering down at me.
And it gives the Dreadnoks that are now with Cobra, it gives them an upper hand too, because they know something that the others don't. So it's layers. I love it.
Although I don't know that they know what he's been doing. Maybe Zorana does, but possibly not the rest.
Well, because they do. What does she say? Quit the charade and join us. So because she says, "Are you ready to quit the charade and join us?" So I don't know if that means that she knows where he is or not. So
yeah, if she doesn't know already, then it sounds from the dialogue like she does. But remembering the sequences from Cobra Commander, it sounded like most of the rest of them probably were in the dark. Then it's a secret even to them.
But I think it also is. So far, we've alluded to Zorana being like the brains of this operation, as it is the boots on the ground as far as the Dreadnoks go. She's the one who seems the most with it. So
the brains of the Dreadnok operation seems like damning with faint praise, perhaps.
But what Cobra Commander says on page 3, you may act stupid, but I see through that. You had skills and smarts beyond expectations.
He's also backed in a corner in a cave that he may be saying what he needs to say to.
That's true. I think some of the Dreadnoks are dumb and sloppy and lazy, and I think some of the Dreadnoks are smarter than we think, and a couple of them are very smart. And
here's that page from issue 14 with Hawk in shadow and looking a little bit slightly suspicious. Just to close that one out. Right, let's flick back to the very front of the book then, shall we? So Cobra Commander was in a cave with a chainsaw and doing all sorts of horrible red things, let's say, to the unnamed Dreadnoks that went inside. It wasn't even Billy Bob here. It was we never found out his name. So rest in peace, Samurai Dreadnok.
I just want to say, although this is a little more violent and bloody than I prefer for a G.I. Joe comic, and although I do think this falls in line with a rated T for teen comic in 2026. Can you go back to that previous page?
Okay.
I do think that this first page is a good example of less is more. And if you don't show something completely, the audience will sort of imagine it worse.
Yeah, fill in the blanks. Yeah. It's like a close-up of a screaming face, splash of blood, a blurred chainsaw. We're not actually being shown necessarily huge amounts of gore and violence.
And for the grown-ups who are in charge of younger readers who might see this, and a smart grown-up will see this page and sort of know that it's worse than if there was just like a full drawing of Cobra Commander like digging a chainsaw into someone's chest. at the same time, I feel like you can hand this to someone and it's like, well, we're not really showing it.
Yeah.
So let's cover some exposition here. Cobra Commander is in the cave with these, we can assume, dead Dreadnoks with a chainsaw to Buzz's neck and threatening them. Ripper has the classic line here: "Leave my BFF alone, best friend forever." I don't know how Dreadnoky that is, but they do drink grape soda instead of booze, so there's a little bit of wholesomeness to the Dreadnoks, kind of under that rough underbelly. It's the sort of the proposition here from Cobra Commander of him asking them if they want to be hired by him as independent contractors. So this is turning the whole thing 180. They've come in to kill him, and he's wanting to walk out of this situation as them being his underlings doing his bidding.
This was the first moment where I thought back to our interview with Joshua Williamson and Tom Reilly, where Williamson said, the final chapter of this story is great and you're going to love it. And it's big and it's full of surprises and it's unexpected and it wraps everything up. But also, I thought, what a great turn. And that it is only page 3. And this whole issue feels like this, because this keeps happening. Every 2 or 3 pages, there's a change. And, if your response is like, well, there are all these things that have been set up. It's like, yeah, they didn't all have to necessarily, or a bunch of them didn't all necessarily have to come to a head here. And there's still the nuts and bolts of sort of spreading them out over this one issue.
And it looks beautiful at the same time. Like the colors have just got such an amazing pop to them. And you've got on this page, which I think is number 3, they've got a middle panel, all white background, colors all colored pink, and you just get these incredible vivid colors. And I was reading over the Christmas period, the latest book from Garth Ennis and Steve Epting, which is also coloured by Jordie Bellaire. What is that? Partisan, it's called, which is the sort of spiritual sequel to Sarah, published by TKO, and that's coloured by the same colour artist as this, but miles apart. That is much more sort of a conventional, war comic, gritty realism. It seems unbelievable that the same artist can in her toolkit can do something as different and as vivid as this. And I love the colors on this, and particularly that panel. Let's see if I can find it.
Wait, can you stay on this page for a second?
Okay.
So Jordie Bellaire is approaching this book a little bit like pop art, like the pop art movement of the last century. And some of that, is already embedded because it's a comic book and the way that comic books used to be printed with limited color inks and dots. But look at this first panel where the background color could be anything. It could be shocking yellow. It could be sort of a realistic gray or brown because they're in a cave. It could be like red or pink to give us this sense of, rage or alarm. But it's this blue aqua, which pretty much matches this accent color for Zorana and Xandar. And then you pointed out the third panel, and it's not just this lack of background vignette panel with 5 figures all knocked out in pink. It's also that Russ Wooton does the word balloons in this panel in a very light pink. And then look at the final panel of this page where there's this splatter on Cobra Commander, which is, I think technically it's blood, but I think it's also not objective. It's subjective. It's like, what's a thing that's just going to add some weird spice to this visual? What's a texture that I can put here that speaks to the general chaos and upset and like color of this scene, which is these characters in crazy colors and blood. And but then this pink on his blue also, to my eye, like slightly refers to just all the rocks and the cave itself. And like, it is not a mistake, but if an editor pointed to this and like called in someone who's learning to color in comics and pointed and said, what is this pink stuff on Cobra Commander? It's like it sort of has no answer, and it doesn't need an answer. It's just awesome.
And one thing before I know I don't want to spend this much time on every single page, but one thing I just want to call out, we can, but just
you
talking about,
listen to the show, right?
Right, exactly. That's why I'm saying we can, and it could happen. But the to call out one thing that I think that Tom does so well in his art is body language, and when you have Ripper kind of admitting sheepishly, like, yeah, Cobra's it's actually pretty it's pretty sweet. It speaks that he made this big bold move to kind of take Cobra Commander out at the beginning of the story arc, and then he's kind of like, well, actually, it is kind of cool, And so it's just I love that you get that body language of him being like, yeah, just very sheepish in that. So that's it sells what's going through his brain well. So what little of it may be, but yeah.
Yep, perfect. And then, so the mission, should they choose to accept it, is to kill G.I. Joe. We're back with the Joes on their ram cycle. And despite reuniting with the Joes, Duke hasn't been reunited with any top to cover up his missing or torn shirt. He's often called the first sergeant or the first shirt of the Joes, but I think he also needs a second and third shirt, given how frequently he loses his clothing.
Is Duke's nickname No Shirt?
the No Shirt of the Joes.
Carl,
he's giving Baroness a gun show.
Carl pointed out Tom Reilly's really wonderful body language. Look at Risk on the final panel here, right? There's a relaxation and an ease to how he's sort of leaning a little bit out of Hound and got his rifle over his shoulder, but there's also some tension because he's holding on and he's carrying a weapon and he's riding on an alien. And what he's saying, right? The odds are looking pretty good. Baroness found him, and then, all right. I'm not gonna talk about any one panel anymore about how awesome the art or color is. That's just a given. I do want to say, I'll say one last thing. This page reminds me of pages I have seen in DC books and Dark Horse books where I say, man, this coloring is kind of ugly and not amazing. And what I'm saying here is that Jordie Bellaire is using a bunch of colors that, on a similar page in the hands of a different color artist, I wouldn't like, but it's all what she does with it. And I don't have a good side-by-side comparison. But okay, now I'm done talking about colors.
For now.
No, I'm really going to stop because we're going to talk about character and story for the rest of it. It's all we're
going to try and hit wrap up within a half an hour. I think that's the aim. That's the goal.
I do want to say in terms of story, I think I pointed this out in the previous issue or 2 issues ago, but there's this really fun balance of it's a team book, but Duke is still he's not the star, but I'm still really aware of him, that it's sort of his story. And Williamson had such a great start with 5 whole issues of Duke, but even that had become a team book by the end. And I've never liked Duke this much, and I've never seen this much of Duke. It's like at the beginning of the cartoon, it's like he's the star of the first 5 episodes, and he's kind of the star of the next 5 episodes, and then not so much after that. The Baroness here gets to make another reference to how reckless or crazy he is here. And then can I have you go ahead 2 pages to the spread? Okay.
I was gonna add just on this page that while Duke is part of the Joes, Cobra Commander is part of now the Dreadnok leader almost, but he is set as being apart from them because literally through the color, he is colored, normally or more regularly in the blacks, and the rest of the Dreadnoks are sort of pushed back with these color holds almost into a different layer, and it's just such a interesting visual sort of separating Cobra Commander in the 2 panels that he appears on this particular page as being separated from the rest of it, and really striking. I think this might be my favorite page of this book because of that sort of striking use of color.
Carl, you buy a lot of Tom Reilly art. Which page in this issue are you getting weak? Are you losing your control over clicking the buy now button on that
this
website.
page is one of them. This page right here. Only because I also would love. So yes, Cobra Commander stands out here in the colored version, but I know in seeing Tom's art, it would be a nice, the way that looks, just having that team shot there is going to be a nice, like a more flat and even appearance, which I think is great. And I also love the balance of the bottom part of the page where it's Duke Cobra Commander. So it's very representative of where this story is with the Dreadnoks, and still, but ultimately it's still Duke versus Cobra Commander. So I think this page says a lot about the story itself. But then the other, and this is the thing, I could justify every page like, oh, I would buy this because of this, and the hardest thing is to pick and choose, like, you know, and I'm very fortunate to have been able to pick up what I've picked up so far, but I still, it's a sickness as far as like, oh, I want more, and I want to justify every single reason to pick up another page. So I could give you the other page that I would pick up because I love what Tom does, is that the next page, the double page spread, because I think one of the things that I think is very representative of what Tom is able to do lies in these double page spreads with all of the action, all the small moments that add up to to show the big action that is happening. So yeah, this would be another one. And I also like the balance of it's Yo Joe, you got Cobra Commander up there, and there's just a lot going on, which you get like bang for your buck as far as storytelling goes when you're looking at original art. So
I guess I am going to say one more thing about the color, since we're on this 2-page spread. Notice how Jordie Bellaire treats all 4 tiers very differently. The first one is more like pop because the background is like bubblegum magenta, and then the second tier is what I will call realistic. You know, it's like a certain time of day and there's fire in the background, and then the third tier is just these green and pink knockouts where the black ink is a magenta. And then the final one, which I think we've seen before, when a transformer is transforming, you have these slight color offsets on the lettering, which I'm gonna guess is more Russ Wooton, but then this sort of alternating pink and blue. But what I wanted to talk about on this page is how much I appreciate Duke's pose in the third panel, where he's midair having launched his motorcycle. And I just love the physics of it, that his pose is, it's not like a moment or an inch before or after. He hasn't landed. It's not sort of an awkward pose. He's kind of flying. He's a little bit out of control, but I'm also worried about him because Ripper is coming in. But then also I get to enjoy how much damage, if you can go to the left, Mark, the motorcycle is doing to random Dreadnok number 27. And also, since I'm always ready to pick on the 3 live action G.I. Joe movies, at the beginning of G.I. Joe Retaliation, there's what in the script and maybe in the storyboard was a totally awesome sequence where Firefly like drives and launches a motorcycle-y vehicle forward and then sort of like jumps off it very similarly. But then through like over directing and kind of dumb visual effects, I forget what it is, motorcycle ATV something like becomes 3 different things, and one of them flies and it becomes a bomb. I don't know. And then he breaks Cobra Commander out of the underground prison. And I never needed that scene to get like redone, but properly. But it's happening a little bit here.
Sorry to go back to that. If you go back to the left a little bit more, is something you don't pick up right away. But
they're
like
taking
the Dreadnoks. They're like, we had enough. We're leaving the battlefield. Like we're out of here.
No, but they're taking Ripper away.
Is that Ripper? Okay. Oh, it is Ripper. Yeah, because he's had the most brutal. Oh yeah, that's true. That's Ripper. That first. I didn't. Yeah,
and that's a bit of nice continuity because 2 panels earlier, Buzzer is still holding him.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's again so rewarding.
So I try not to, when I play the game of which page would I buy this issue, I try not to sometimes pick the obvious one like the splash page or the big reveal page. As a Transformers fan, I probably should say the next page, which is the big splash page reveal of a giant alien robot living on Earth in secret in the guise of an army jeep. But I might pick that page anyway.
Will be justification for every single one, but I actually like the page after that with the splash page, just because just from a money standpoint, you can't. It's a balance. Like the splashes are awesome, but the thing I love about Tom's work is the storytelling, the panels. So you get more on a panel page and at a more reasonable price point. So I think you get a lot of what Tom is good at on that this page. So as far as you still get Hound in action, you get the Risk, you get Ripper, you get the team, everybody reacting to what's going on, and I think that has a lot more to offer as far as what I would want to look at continually from now until
the inking on that fourth panel, right? It's such an illumination from the two blasts coming out of Hound's gun and then the explosion of this Dreadnok vehicle, but all the shadows on Hound and then this random Dreadnok and then the thing that's being blown up. It's so satisfying.
Yeah, which not to totally skip over that amazing splash page, but it's just.
I mean, a lot of artists could handle. It's like the script is like Hound, full-bodied, punching the ground, clutches up on his shoulders, ground is cracking, couple Dreadnoks getting thrown away. Many artists could pull that off, probably as well as this. The page that follows, you're right, fewer artists could pull it off as well as this.
Yeah, again, I never want to imply that a splash page is easy, but it's just like the stuff that I find more rewarding in Tom's work is the panel work.
It will be interesting to see how the double page actually looks when the art is posted on the Modern Mythology art dealers page, because having seen some of issue number 16, where again they've got those sort of two double splash pages with sort of different sequences happening on those different layers, that it looked like Tom has tended to kind of divide those up when he's drawing them. So it's like one piece of paper to describe one particular sequence. So it wouldn't surprise me if this actually existed on paper as up to 4 different pieces of separate paper.
Mark, can you go back to the 2 pages later when Hound is shooting So just another 2 small details, which I think were embedded in what Carl was saying with these reaction shots. So we see Stalker's reaction, we see Baroness's reaction, right? Look what she's doing. She's holding onto Zorana's jacket and about to punch her. And Zorana's got her visor down, which happened 2 pages earlier. And then 2 panels down, Risk and Buzzer Ripper are reacting. And then behind them is one of these random background Dreadnoks with this sort of funny, crazy, like helmet and hair. And it's the kind of like, that's just a little, it's not quite a joke or a punchline, but you can imagine in the hands of if this was a scene in a movie, like a lesser director would like cut to Risk and one of the bad guys, and then like cut to like one of the sort of non-player characters and would give this too much of a moment, like, whoa! And the audience would like sort of chuckle at this one random Dreadnok. But this character is small in the background and you can kind of miss it.
I'm just picking up on this now, looking at the reaction. So everyone else is in amazement, but Risk. So if he's the risk assessment guy, his brain is automatically thinking, okay, we win now. So it's almost like he's celebrating this moment. Everybody else is just shocked by it. So he's also his character. Yeah.
He's also forewarned to it as well, because at this point it's only Clutch and Risk that know about this secret.
That's true, right? Like,
yeah. So everyone else, they're just discovering this for the first time. So it's a different dynamic for Risk, and hence the apology. Yeah.
Well, I mean, Ripper knows because he said, "Oh no, sorry." Wait, does Ripper know? No, I'm getting him mixed up with Mercer. Mercer knows.
Mercer knows. Yeah. So then we get the kind of the big reveals of seeing this for the first time, which is Cobra Commander seeing it for the first time with a delightful reflection in his visor. They have one of the machines, and Duke silent and stoic at this point.
Wait, Mark, that was good, but he whispers it to himself.
Okay, they have one of the machines.
Yeah.
Okay. Road Pig's reaction a little bit different to the others. Mama gonna give you a spanking. Mama being the name of his metallic hammer. The spanking does not occur. You've got this delightful fourth panel, punt. I think punt is a good sound effect for this particular action. Just launching Road Pig into the sky, minutes after he has been struck by Energon lightning. Poor Road Pig. He's not having the greatest day. But I was going to say he's not having the greatest day, but I think Road Pig's having the best day of his life.
So much so that later on when he's like, don't leave without me. This is great. I want more of this.
You know what I'm going to vote for based on what the two of you just said and this page. In the same way that Joshua Williamson sort of found the new Raptor and then had to put him in the comic earlier than he ever thought it would happen, and he kind of gets a whole issue to himself. I'm voting right now. In the next year and a half, I'd like to see an issue. I know we've seen it a bit already, but I'd like Road Pig to get another, half issue, mostly to himself. And then it is on the next page.
I would say one more thing about this page.
Yeah,
I love the intelligent choice of that third panel so Cobra Commander sees Hound, and he has the realization that they have one of the machines, and then he makes the realization that Duke is caught unaware. So you get that small shot of Cobra Commander in the corner of that third panel because he looks at Hound and then immediately to Duke, like how is Duke reacting to this? So I think that's an important part of the story as well.
And that third panel is a really strong composition because of the slight diagonal up left of Cobra Commander, the slight diagonal up right of Duke, small, big, but they're connected by that smoke, but that smoke is knocked back in the color. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So then it is the next page. This is where we now have, we've been waiting for this, right? Every chapter of this story, we have enjoyed the fighting and the intellectual arguing and justification that these two, the lead good guy and the lead bad guy, have done with each other, right? And going back to issue 6 and then going back to the miniseries, we've been waiting for this. And I'm sort of getting the sense, and maybe not, as like Night Force comes back in and like the Scarlet subplots come back in and the book gets up to, another dozen or 2 or 3 issues. But I sort of get the sense that, and Williamson said to us, Cobra Commander is a favorite character of his, or is now. I feel like this comic is going to keep coming back to this. Cobra Commander versus Destro, because that's how it started. That's how this corner of the... right, thank you. Cobra Commander and Duke fighting, not just physically, but also sort of the argument of what's at stake, who's the real bad guy, and then the conflict, right, where Duke says, as much as I hate to admit it, that robot gives us an advantage. And then because it's this issue and every 3 pages, there's a big reverse, right? It's like, yes, Hound, no. Oh, they're going to have Energon weapons. No, Hound, come on. Joshua Williamson, I want the good guys to win. But that's, it's like, I want Peter Parker to I want him to marry a supermodel. It's like, no. It's first we're going to put him through his paces and take something away from him.
Before we move on too much, though, that previous page, it's Samurai Golf Club, Dreadnok dude. Why not? Just point that out. Right. So Destro is coming in, accompanied by soundtrack to Ride of the Valkyries, no doubt, coming to, can you say save the day if it's the bad guys coming in with the rescue? The
bad guy can save the bad day.
Mm-hmm. And he's sending down the Valkyries, which is a cool shout back to issue number 1, I think it was, or was it number 2, when those last appeared. It's nice that you kind of have these concepts introduced and they're not completely throwaway and never seen again, that they sort of do continue to perpetuate in the lore. Yeah. So, and they were sort of also pitched as potentially, as well as these kind of clearing up the aftermath of a battle, that they were kind of pitched almost as Cobra Commander's kind of personal bodyguard kind of elite troops. And so they are kind of playing that role here of sort of swooping in and rescuing him. And closing out with Cobra Commander asking that all of the Dreadnoks who have had toys made of them to follow him.
But also eliminating those that don't, because
there's a subtle thing that's happening on this page too. So in the previous couple pages with this fight, it's easy to lose track of where everyone is in the space, and since we don't see the helicopters on this page, and we don't quite see where the helicopters are in relationship to everyone. It would be easy to sort of have the geography of like, where are the good guys, where are the bad guys, where are the dead Dreadnoks, where's Hound, and to just sort of draw the bad guys getting away and to not define it more. But Reilly does to an extent here, because in that third panel, the Joes are in the foreground and Duke is in the background, and he's really small and he's yelling. So he's yelling across a distance, it's like 15 or 20 feet away. Don't let him get away. And then in that final panel, and this is not the clearest, I wouldn't call it unclear, but I feel like here the issue, this is the one page where things are getting a little bit sort of squeezed for time. And if they hadn't given us extra pages in 2 issues already of this arc, maybe, this page could be expanded to 2, no complaints. But Torch creates a wall of fire here to separate the Joes, right? And you can, Mark, can you zoom in on this bottom panel?
We can, because you see Baroness the star on her chest.
Yeah. So
yes.
The Joes are in the background. There's a wall of fire, and then all the Dreadnoks, Cobra Commander, and the Valkyries are in the foreground, walking, not running, right? Which means they're safe. There's enough distance. The fire is big enough that that Cobra Commander and company are just going to get away, right? So now you sort of know where the helicopters are by sort of process of elimination.
And it shows you what Duke is doing in this whole moment, where the Valkyrie has him. He kind of gets the upper hand, takes her gun, and then eliminates the other Dreadnoks that are coming at the no names that are coming at him. So it gives a reason as to why
on the next page.
Yeah, but in this sequence, it shows why Duke doesn't do something crazy Duke-like to then go after the helicopter. He is now a couple layers deep as far as defenses go. There's a layer of fire that Ripper had down. There's the Valkyries there. There's then also the other Dreadnoks that are there. So he's well occupied in this moment that he's not able to do something crazy Duke heroic to get to the helicopter.
Yes, and then by the time he tries, it's Mark, can you go to the following page? It's too late, right? We get these 2 panels on the bottom of the next page where Duke is starting to do a crazy thing. And I thought, oh yeah, Duke's going to do a crazy thing. And then I thought, well, why isn't, it's too far. It's too far.
Yeah. At that point. Yeah. And then you
Duke is captured a Valkyrie's pistol, which is a laser pistol, which is why he's shooting those 4 Dreadnoks with that blue laser effect. But the Cobras are making an escape in their Ashby style helicopters with Road Pig jumping onto the landing gear, and the weight of Road Pig almost pulling down the entire helicopter. Mercer is having to struggle on that stick and pop all of his veins in his arms to take off.
And then the next page, we get this sort of like it hurts. It's an insult, right? It's like salt in wound, but it's also a version of honor, right? Where Cobra Commander got away sort of fair and square. He's got the superior forces here in terms of power and people, but like I'm imagining this panel, every Joe reader, their hearts sunk when they saw this panel, like, oh, cool, he's getting away. Like, oh man, he's getting away after all of that, right? Duke came so close. And I just want to read it again, right? The yelling from 2 pages earlier, don't let him get away, right?
Yeah, it's like I went through all of this and now this is happening. Like I went to all of this pain and he's still getting away. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I love the moment on this page where I read this issue and then afterwards is when I actually watched your the interview with Joshua and Tom, and when he referenced the kind of FU moment to in the comic, like that's this. It's like, see you, soldier boy, so giving him the salute.
Right.
So.
They weren't going to spoil it, but they teed it up a little bit for us.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then as they sort of make their getaway, the dynamic shifts and the Joes are left on their own. It's at this point that sort of Duke can finally have a pause and react to that, the fact that Clutch, his best buddy, has been keeping this secret that his Jeep is actually a giant transforming robot, which is also Duke's nemesis and mission that he has been on since Duke issue 1 to get to this point. So we get a fairly visceral reaction of Duke just clocking Clutch in the face with a crack, a moment not unlike the Avengers of Hulk sort of doing that sideways punch to Thor.
Not to take us backwards real quick, but I just remembered I want to talk about the on the salute page when Cobra Commander is taking off there, that third panel where you know that there's something coming. There's that conflict between Destro and Cobra Commander, that ongoing conflict. But I love how the squinting of the eye of Cobra Commander doesn't necessarily match the words that he's saying. It's Cobra Commander knowing that Destro was up to something, but it's him not fully addressing it. It's just him saying, it took you long enough, and Destro addresses that. But it's you know that Cobra Commander is still one step ahead of Destro. And
look at where Cobra Commander is looking. He's looking to his head is aimed at us,
right?
Because he was looking down the helicopter. But in this third panel, his eye is all the way to the right. Right? He's looking sort of over his shoulder without turning his head. Mm-hmm. Also, in that middle panel, you see this background behind Duke, curvilinear perspective. The way that the ground plane below Duke is actually like a globe. It's a sphere, and it's curving away on the left and curving away on the right. And man, Tom Reilly didn't have to do that. That's awesome. It's just smoke. It's just smoke as we helicopter away from the defeated good guy. And then Duke has now we're getting back to the page where he punches his friend after the big lie is revealed. And this page where on the bottom, Duke is holding these 2 Energon rifles and he screams, "Talk robot now." And he's finally having Duke is finally kind of cracked.
Yeah.
This great trauma of seeing his friends die in a way that's totally unexplainable and sort of being gaslit by his boss, no, you're not going to investigate how your friend died mysteriously. You're going to form this team. Like, no, I'm going out on my own. Right. It's like, no, we need to talk about the giant robots. Like, no, Duke, we need to do this other thing. And he doesn't say it calmly, even though he has the Energon weapons. He screams it. Right. So this panel is disproportionately weighted emotionally compared to sort of how much space it takes up on the page and in the issue. And this is a very cool composition that we are looking at him, but we're seeing him from Hound's perspective, and we're seeing Hound's shadow behind him. And then one more color thing, right? Like, just for crazy kicks, Jordie Bellaire put some blue aqua in the shadow. Anyway, but I am the previous page I was really upset for Duke. And then on this page, I'm really worried about Duke.
Very good. So,
It's like a low. The whole thing is a low point. I mean, he just Cobra Commander just got away, and all of this trauma that has kind of added up, and then he has this release of his emotions there.
Yeah.
But,
now we've got to wrap up because it's time.
And to the urgency of it, we're left on two great cliffhangers. Duke with Hound, which was going to be followed up in 2 issues' time, and Zartan, which will be followed up who knows when, but I would guess soon, if precedent is anything to go by. So what is next for us? Where we will be back next week talking about G.I. Joe Real American Hero issue 3 to 4. So be back for in 1 week's time for that. I remembered where my sequencing was now. I just needed to click a few slides forward and note that the Energon Universe continues in the pages of Void Rivals, issue number 26, out on the January the 28th. But we don't have to wait too long for more G.I. Joe, with G.I. Joe issue number 18 on sale January the 28th. So Dreadnok War might have finished with its bi-weekly story, but the next issue comes 2 weeks later with that Night Force issue and the introduction of Roadblock and the return of artist Marco Fodera. Hopefully we'll be chatting with him about that issue.
Was there a comment from Marco Fodera in this very episode?
He did. He was complimenting you on your ability to describe covers, Tim.
Oh.
And Transformers will be back in about a month's time. We're having to wait a whole month for an issue. That's crazy. On sale February the 11th. It'll be interesting to see how much other Energon Universe stuff plays out in that issue. Because if I don't know. I just don't know. So that is it for this issue and what is to come. Where can people find you, Tim, when you are not talking to me about the latest comics?
Atomic Abe, that's my YouTube channel, and Hub Comics, that's my brick and mortar store, and I write about G.I. Joe at my blog, arealamericanbook.com.
Very good. And just a reminder for everybody that the Center Holds, the book that Tim has been helping to put together, is available very soon. Issue 1 will be out on February the 11th. So talk to your local comic store to get that added to your pull list if you have not yet done so. Carl, where can you be found when you are not talking to me and Tim?
I have my channel, Carl's Collection, on YouTube, which is conveniently pasted right there. Thank you very much. As a little tease of what my next video is going to be, it's going to be an original art unboxing. Well, actually, not really unboxing. I've already looked at it. I have it in hand. But it's going to be my first Void Rivals art. And some of the first Void Rivals art ever created, because issue 25 was the first physical art for the series. So some more Energon Universe art on the way.
Cool.
Interesting. I did not know that.
Right.
Very good.
Series drawn digitally before it.
Yep. Yeah. Andre Bresson, first physical art. So.
If you are new to Talking Joe, you can join us at talkingjoe.co.uk. That is the website that points you in the directions of all the places we can be found. If you're not yet a member of the Facebook group, you can join that. Please do like and subscribe if you are on YouTube. If you are an audio-only listener, why not leave a 5-star rating review on your favorite platform of choice. It's been a little while since we had one of those, so let's get that one in. And also a big thank you to all of our Patreon members who have joined at patreon.com/talkingjoe. So a big thanks to Richard, Sam, Bill, Rob, Shane, Simon, Chris, Joe, Craig, Frank D, Shane V2. This one was Zartan all along. Infinite Entertainment, Patrick, Gary V, Coldroff, and B, who are all getting early and ad-free access to episodes, as well as some exclusive content. And me saying all of that just reminded me that I'd forgotten to play something, which was a little voice note from one of our listeners who also happens to be a Patreon member. Postbox Pit, this is where you can send in your thoughts. Mark and Tim will hear it, and then we'll discuss it. It's really nice to hear from our biggest fans.
Hey guys, Shane here. I just wanted to share that G.I. Joe issue 17 was amazing. Not only is it a great end to the Dreadnok War, but I think it may be my favorite issue of this series. It is just so action-packed. On top of the perfectly timed and tremendous reveal of Hound, just spectacular. Right when we think that it can't get any more exciting, we have the big reveal that Mark has been predicting all along of Zartan. But one of my favorite moments before we get to either one of those is the sort of double page spread with a lot of panels on pages 6 and 7. Cobra Commander yells Dreadnoks attack. Duke yells Yo Joe, and then jumps off of his motorcycle, letting it fly directly into the face of a Dreadnok. I've never seen anything like that. Super issue, 5 stars all day long.
Thanks to Shane for that. I think Shane would get the winner of Listener of the Week, but I think it would be unfair to give it to anyone apart from Carl for your contributions for this episode. So well done for this prestigious award.
It's the Listener of the Week!
Thank you.
There you go. Okay, you can
awesome.
add it to your resume.
Yeah.
Thanks again, Carl, for joining us. It was great to have you on. And yeah, in the meantime, I think that is basically us done. Head on over to Full Force Weekly for the rundown of the latest news. Chris will be live over there. He always starts the episode with comic news, and so you've just heard that stuff anyway. But I think that is us done, but Tim, tingling in the back of my head is this sensation that I feel like there's one last thing that we've not yet said. Can you? Do you have any thoughts?
I do. I was thinking that nobody beats Talking Joe, an international podcast.
Laters.
Take care.